Look around you, data is everywhere, right? Spreadsheets, databases, analytics reports, just piles of it.
Totally.
And trying to make sense of all that raw, often unrelated information and, quickly, it can feel like trying to drink from a fire hose. It's just overwhelming sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into, well, an incredible tool that promises to turn that data chaos into clarity. You might be wondering, what exactly is Power BI?
Yeah, what's fascinating here is how Power BI acts as like a bridge. It connects simple data sources, maybe like Excel sheets you have.
Sure, yeah, everyone has those.
Right, all the way up to complex cloud data warehouses.
Yeah.
It gives you the power to see the stories, hidden within your numbers.
Hidden stories, I like that.
And the real insight here isn't just seeing the data, but it's about democratizing that understanding.
Yeah.
Allowing anyone to grasp critical trends in seconds.
Wow, seconds.
Yeah, insights that, once required hours of complex analysis.
That's a great way to put it, a real shortcut then. And today's deep dive is indeed all about giving you that informed edge. Our mission is to unpack Power BI's core components, explore its vast capabilities, and understand how it empowers you to visualize and share your data no matter what your role is.
Yeah, that's key.
And all of this is based on a fantastic comprehensive guide, the course notes from an Introduction to Power BI workshop, originally put together by the Monash Bioinformatics platform. Really solid stuff.
Oh yeah, good source.
So Power BI sounds like a big deal, but it's not just one single piece of software, is it? It sounds more like an ecosystem.
That's exactly right. It's not just one thing. There are three main pillars, you could say, to the Power BI system.
Okay, 3 pillars. What are they?
First, you have Power BI Desktop. Now, this is a free application for Windows PCs.
Free is good.
Always good. And it's where the magic truly starts. This is where you gather, transform, and visualize your data. It's where your reports are fundamentally built, your main workshop.
Okay, so desktop is like your personal workshop where you craft everything. Makes sense. Once someone has spent time building a report there, what's the typical next step for getting those insights, seen by others?
Right, so you've built it. Now what? That's where the second pillar comes in, the Power BI service.
The service, okay.
This is the online software as a service, or SaaS component. Once your reports are built in desktop, you publish them to the Power BI service.
Ah, so up to the cloud.
Exactly. This online platform is where you can then create dashboards and, crucially, share your findings.
Right, sharing.
Yeah. But a key point to remember here, and it's important, once published, your report and its underlying data are stored on Microsoft servers.
Ah, okay. So you need to think about that.
You absolutely do. It's vital to consider any privacy or confidentiality issues with your data before you just upload it.
That point about data privacy and where the data actually lives is really crucial, especially when moving to cloud services, isn't it?
Couldn't agree more. It's paramount.
So we have desktop for building, the service for sharing online. Is there a third component that truly extends Power BI's reach, maybe for users on the go? Or are those the primary 2 interactions?
Oh, there absolutely is. The third pillar is the Power BI mobile apps.
Ah, mobile. Makes sense.
Yep. These are available on, the usual suspects, Windows, Apple iOS, Google Android devices. They let users view and interact with the shared dashboards and reports while they're out and about.
So it makes those insights truly accessible anywhere, anytime.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so you've got these 3 pieces, desktop, service, mobile. How do they all fit together in a practical sense? Like, how do you actually use Power BI from start to finish? What's the flow?
Yeah, this raises an important question about the journey of data within Power BI. Think of it as a pipeline, sort of.
Okay, pipeline.
You bring data into Power BI Desktop, you build your insights and reports there, doing all of the heavy lifting.
The workshop part.
Exactly, the workshop. Then you publish that report to the Power BI service. From the service, you can share it, and then users can consume those insights directly, maybe on the web or through their mobile apps.
So it's designed for a seamless transition from creation to consumption.
That's the idea. And depending on your role, say if you're a developer, you'll spend most of your time in the desktop.
Right.
Building things.
Right, getting your hands dirty.
But if you're a stakeholder, maybe a manager, you might primarily use the service or the mobile app just to quickly glance at how things are performing. Check the key numbers.
Okay, that workflow makes sense. With that bird's eye view of the ecosystem established, let's zoom in a bit. Let's talk about the raw materials and tools. What are the fundamental elements we actually interact with when building things in Power BI?
Right, the building blocks. At its heart, Power BI uses 5 fundamental ones. First, and perhaps most captivating, are visualizations.
The charts and graphs.
Exactly. These are representations of data in a visual format. Think line charts, bar graphs, color-coded maps, or even just simple numbers displaying a key calculation, a KPI.
Okay.
The main idea, as the saying goes, is that a picture says 1,000 words, right?
Yeah, sure does.
Visuals tell the underlying story of your data. They make it accessible.
You mentioned Power BI's ability to show us the stories hidden within our numbers. How does it actually enable us to visualize and interpret that raw data? What are the other building blocks we're working with here?
Well, that brings us naturally to data sets. A data set is simply the collection of data that Power BI uses for those visualizations.
So the source information.
Precisely. And what's powerful here is its ability to combine data from various sources. It could be a simple Excel workbook, or a SQL server, or even services like Salesforce or Facebook. Power BI has built-in connectors to pull all that disparate information together into one coherent data set.
Wow, so it can connect to a lot of different things.
Oh yeah, tons of connectors. Then you arrange these visualizations into reports. A report is a collection of visuals appearing on one or more pages.
Like a document.
Kind of, yeah. Designed to structure and tell a specific story, like analyzing GDP, population, and life expectancy across global regions using that Gapminder data example from the notes. That's a classic report structure.
Okay, so a report tells a detailed story, maybe over multiple pages. What's a dashboard then, and how does it relate to a report? Is it the same thing?
Not quite, though they're closely related. A dashboard is typically a single-page collection of visuals, often pulled from one or more reports.
Ah, okay, so like a highlight reel.
That's a great way to think of it. It's designed to give you quick insights, the most critical takeaways at a glance. Almost like an artist's canvas, as the notes put it, where you pin the most important visuals.
An artist's canvas, I like that. And the individual items on that canvas.
Those are called tiles. Each tile is basically an individual visualization pinned to the dashboard from a report.
Got it. Visualizations, data sets, reports, dashboards, tiles, those are the 5. Now, you mentioned Power BI Desktop is free, which is great for getting started, but what about sharing and collaborating? Is there a catch?
Well, yes and no. The free Power BI Desktop version lets you do pretty much everything locally, loading, analyzing, visualizing data. You can create as many reports as you like on your own machine.
Okay, so you can do a lot for free.
You can. However, publishing those reports and sharing them online, whether with a specific person or, publicly, that generally requires a Power BI license. A pro or premium license typically.
Right, so the online sharing part is licensed.
Correct. You can still share the actual .pbx files offline, like emailing the file, but for seamless web-based collaboration and using the Power BI service features, a license is usually necessary.
That makes sense. So the licensing piece clarifies how we share, but stepping back, how do all these individual components you've described, the desktop, service, mobile, and these building blocks really come together? How do they offer that flexible framework for different use cases?
Yeah, that's an excellent question because that's where the power lies. If we connect this to the bigger picture, these building blocks provide a truly flexible framework. You can start really small, maybe just one data set, one simple visualization for a quick personal analysis.
Okay.
Or you can scale way up to enterprise-grade analytics, combining complex sources, building intricate reports and dashboards shared across a whole organization. Power BI adapts to virtually any use case, from a personal project to a large corporation's BI strategy.
That scalability sounds key. Okay, let's get practical. So you've got your data, maybe in that Excel file or somewhere else, but it's rarely perfect, right? It's often messy.
Oh, tell me about it, yeah.
It's like finding a treasure map with some smudged coordinates or coffee stains on it. You need to clean it up before you can really start digging for gold. How does Power BI help with that initial cleanup?
Precisely. It's rare to get perfectly clean data. So in Power BI Desktop, the first step is usually the Get Data function on the Home tab.
Get data.
You select your source, for example, a CSV file, like that gap-minder.csv from the notes, and Power BI connects to it. It tries to understand the data, and often any immediate errors will top up right then, prompting you to take a look and fix them.
And what are some of the most common data issues Power BI can help you address right at that import stage? What kind of smudges can it wipe off?
Good question. One of the most common is Power BI automatically assigning an incorrect data type to a column. For instance, the LifeX column in the example might be detected as text, maybe because it's an odd value somewhere.
Right, and you need it to be a number for calculations.
Exactly. It should be a decimal number. Power BI makes it pretty straightforward to change this data type in the query editor.
Okay, what else?
It also helps with replacing erroneous or missing values. You might find NA or just blank cells, or even subtle errors like, I think the notes mentioned a white space character in a year column for the year 1820 in the Gapminder data.
Ah, sneaky ones like that.
Yeah, those can trip you up. Power BI offers tools in its query editor, which is really the data cleaning powerhouse, to find and replace these kinds of issues.
So it's got some powerful cleaning tools built in. That's good to know. But is it always best practice to do the cleaning in Power BI itself, or is there a preliminary step one should always aim for?
That's a really important point. Well, Power BI offers excellent tools for these adjustments after you load the data. The best practice, generally, is to clean up your source data as much as possible before you import it.
Ah, okay. Clean it at the source.
If you can, yes. This isn't just for efficiency, though it helps. It's more about building fundamental trust in your data. By ensuring data integrity right at the source, you dramatically reduce that garbage in, garbage out risk.
Makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out.
Right. It guarantees your insights are built on a solid, reliable foundation. And it's worth noting, the changes you make in Power BI's query editor don't affect your original source file. They're just actions. Power BI applies every time it loads or refreshes that specific data set.
Okay, that's good to know too. It doesn't mess with the original.
Correct.
So that makes a lot of sense for both efficiency and accuracy. Once the data is in and relatively clean, how do we start shaping it for our analysis? What's the process for refining our data sets within Power BI?
Okay, so data's in, maybe partially cleaned. Now we model it. This brings us to the Applied Steps feature, which you'll find in the query editor.
Applied steps.
Yeah. And what's fascinating here is how Power BI allows for this iterative refinement. You can literally see every single step of your data transformation journey recorded.
Oh, like a history list.
Exactly like a history list. It encourages a really thoughtful and critical approach to preparing your data set for analysis. For instance, you can rename columns to be more meaningful. The notes use the example of changing name to country or life expectancy.
Which helps later when you're building visuals.
Absolutely. That clarity saves you trouble down the line. You could also add or remove columns to streamline your data set. Maybe remove an irrelevant column like G77 in the example.
Right, declutter.
Declutter, exactly. Or you can create new calculated columns. For example, calculating total gross domestic products by multiplying the population column by the GDP per capita column.
So you can derive new information right there.
Yep, during the transformation stage.
It sounds like Power BI encourages a very iterative process for data transformation. You mentioned the applied steps list. What's one common mistake people make in that phase, and how can they avoid it using that feature?
That's a good practical question. The applied steps section is your best friend precisely for avoiding mistakes, or at least fixing them easily. It lists every transformation you've applied, renaming, filtering, replacing values, everything. So you can track what you did. You can click on a previous step to see the data before it changed. You can even delete steps or reorder them, although reordering needs care.
Okay, so you can undo things easily.
Very easily. A common mistake, maybe, is trying to do too much in one single step, or not frequently checking the data after each transformation to see if it did what you expected.
Right. Take small steps and check your work.
Exactly. The key is to make small, verifiable changes. And that applied steps list lets you do that. Once all your transformations are done, you click Close and Apply.
And that loads it back into the main view.
Yeah, it brings the refined data back into the main Power BI desktop interface, ready for analysis and visualization. And it's always important to refresh your data at this point or periodically to ensure all changes are applied and the data is up to date before you start building those charts.
Refreshing is key.
Absolutely. I recall one client, actually, who was manually updating these complex weekly Excel reports. Took him like half a day every Monday.
Ouch.
Yeah. With Power BI, we automated that entire data prep process using these kinds of applied steps. Linked it to the source, set up the transformations. Now he just hits refresh. Frees up his time for actual strategic work, not just data wrangling.
That's a huge win. Okay, so you've got your clean modeled data. You've got your visual building blocks we talked about. Now what? How do you really make it sing and tell that compelling story to you and, importantly, to your audience?
Right. This is where the fun really begins for many people. That's where the visualization panel comes in. It's a really crucial part of the Power BI interface.
The palette of charts.
Exactly. It offers all the standard chart types you'd expect: scatter plots, bar charts, line charts, pie charts, maps, tables, and more. Once your data is refined and loaded, the visualization panel makes bringing it to life incredibly intuitive.
So how does it work? Do you just drag and drop?
Pretty much. You'll typically select the chart type you want from the panel, which puts a blank visual on your report canvas. Then you drag your data fields, like country or sales amount or year, from your dataset list onto the different parts of that visual, like the axis, legend, or values wells.
Okay, so you map the data to the visual elements.
Precisely. You interactively assign your data fields to chart elements to start building your visual story.
Can you walk us through an example? Like if we wanted to explore, say, life expectancy over time using that Gapminder data?
Sure, good example. You'd maybe select a scatter plot from the panel. Then you drag the year field to the x-axis well and the life ex field to the y-axis well.
Okay, year versus life expectancy.
Right. Now, a common pitfall here, and the notes highlight this, is that Power BI often automatically sums numerical data when you put it on an axis.
Oh, right. So it would just add up all the life expectancies for a year. That doesn't make sense.
Exactly. It would give you one big meaningless dot per year. So you'll need to click the little drop-down arrow next to the life ex field in the y-axis well and select Don't Summarize.
Don't summarize. Key step.
Very key. That shows you the actual distribution of points, each country's life expectancy for each year. Then you could drag, say, region to the legend well to color code the points by continent.
Okay, now it's starting to tell a story.
Yeah. And you could even use population for the size well. So bigger bubbles mean bigger populations, adding layers of information.
That's a great way to make a basic plot much richer. What about other common charts, like bars or lines?
Similar process. For a bar plot, you might drag year to the axis, region to the legend, and maybe GDP per capita to the values. Power BI would likely default to summing GDP per capita, but you'd probably want to change that to average.
Right, average GDP per capita by region over time.
Exactly. And for a line chart, you could plot life X, again, probably average, against year, using region for the lines, legend. And one of the really neat features is how easily you can switch between visualization types.
Oh, really? How does that work?
If you have, say, that line chart selected, you can just click the icon for a bar chart or stacked area chart in a visualization panel.
Wow.
If the data fields are compatible, Power BI will seamlessly transform your visual.
Wow, so you can easily experiment with different ways to show the same data.
Yep, it encourages exploration. Find the best way to tell your story.
That's incredible flexibility. Beyond just the basic plot and switching types, how can you really refine these visuals and extract deeper insights, make them look better too?
Good question. There are two main places for that. First, there's the Analytics tab within the visualization panel. It's often represented by a little magnifying glass icon.
Analytics tab, okay.
This is very useful for discovering insights within a visual. It allows you to add reference lines like an average line, a constant line, or even a trend line to your scatter plot. That trend line can highlight patterns you might not have spotted otherwise.
So adding analytical overlays?
Exactly. Then there's the Format tab, usually shown as a paint roller icon.
Right.
This is all about improving readability and, well, the aesthetic appeal.
Making it look good.
Making it look good and making it clearer. You can change the default titles, which are often just the field names, like making average of life by region and year into something clearer, like regional average life expectancy since 1800.
Much better.
Much better. You can adjust font sizes, change colors for axes, labels, data points, add borders, shadows. Lots of control to enhance engagement and understanding for your audience.
So you can make it look polished and professional. But what about organizing all these different charts? If you have, say, multiple analyses you want to show, does it all just get crammed onto one page?
No, thankfully not. Power BI allows you to create multiple pages within a single report. Think of them like tabs in Excel, but for visuals.
Pages like chapters.
Exactly like chapters in a book. This is crucial for organizing your visuals logically and telling a structured story. You might have one page for overview KPIs, another for regional deep dives, another for trends over time. You can easily cut and paste visuals between pages too.
That makes sense for complex reports. Now, what if the built-in charts aren't quite enough? Is there a way to get more specialized visuals?
Yes, absolutely. If the default visuals don't cover what you need, you can explore the Power BI Marketplace, sometimes called AppSource.
A marketplace for visuals?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's where you can find and import custom visualization templates created by Microsoft or third-party developers. The notes mention finding and adding a word cloud template, for example.
Oh, cool. Like word clouds.
Or Maybe a more advanced map chart where you can use latitude, longitude, population size, and maybe OECD status to represent geographical data in really rich ways. It opens up a lot more creative options.
That really expands the possibilities. What about making calculations within Power BI itself after the data is imported and cleaned, but maybe for the visual specifically?
Oh, yes. You can create what are called measures or use quick measures. These allow you to perform calculations directly within the Power BI data model rather than back in the query editor.
Measures. How are they different from calculated columns we talked about earlier?
Calculated columns add a new column to your table, calculating row by row. Measures are more like aggregate calculations that respond dynamically to the context of your visuals and filters. For example, you might create a measure for total sales year to date or average order value.
Okay, so they're more dynamic aggregates.
Generally, yes. Power BI uses the DAX formula language for this data analysis expressions.
DAX. Sounds technical.
It can be, but it's actually quite similar in concept to Excel formulas, though much more powerful for complex data modeling and analysis across entire datasets. Quick measures offer a graphical interface to create common DAX measures without writing the code yourself.
Ah, okay, so there are ways to ease into it. Now, finally, the interactive part. How do you let users slice and dice the data themselves? How do you focus on specific insights or allow users to explore on their own?
Right, interactivity is huge in Power BI. That's where filters and slicers come in, and they're incredibly powerful. Filters allow you, the report creator, to narrow down the data shown.
Okay, filters are for the creator.
Primarily, yes, though users can sometimes interact with them too. You can apply filters on just one selected visual or on an entire page affecting all visuals on it, or even across all pages in your report like a global filter.
Wow, different scopes.
Exactly. For example, on that scatter plot, you could add a filter to only show data for the year 2007 or only for the Asia region.
Got it. So filters narrow the focus. What about slicers then? How are they different?
Slicers are visual elements you add directly onto the report page itself. They are essentially user-friendly filters. They give the user the power to explore different data options directly on the canvas.
Ah, so slicers are for the viewer to play with.
Precisely. Think of a set of buttons or a drop-down list for region or a slider for year. The user clicks Africa on the region slicer, and all the visuals on the page instantly update to show only African data. It gives the user agency over the data they see.
That sounds really interactive.
It is. It's important to note, though, that slicers are affected by existing filters. So if you've already filtered the page to only show Europe, a region slicer on that page will only offer Europe as an option. They work together.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, one last thing on interaction. What if you want to fine-tune how different visuals react to each other? Maybe clicking on one shouldn't change another?
Ah, yes, controlling the cross-filtering. By default, Power BI visuals interact. If you click on a bar representing Asia in one chart, other charts on the page will often filter or highlight the data related to Asia.
Which is usually helpful, but maybe not always.
Exactly. Sometimes you might not want that interaction for a specific visual. You can control that using the Edit Interactions feature. It's usually found on the Format tab when you have a visual selected.
Edit interactions. Okay.
It lets you choose for each visual pair, whether clicking one you would filter the other, highlight it, or have no effect at all. You might want a KPI card showing the total sales to not change when someone clicks on a specific region in another chart, for example.
So you get precise control over that user experience.
You do.
Yeah.
And, this raises an important question about user experience and tailored insights. The ability to filter, slice, and control interactions isn't just about presentation. It's really about empowering the end user to ask their own questions of the data and get immediate answers. That's powerful.
That really is. Okay, so you've done all this incredible work, cleaned the data, built these amazing visuals, set up interactions. How do you get them into the hands of the people who need them safely and effectively? What's the sharing process?
Right, the final step, getting it out there. The first step, of course, is always saving your work locally. Power BI reports are saved as .pbs files.
.pbix. Okay.
Yep. And these files are actually highly compressed. They contain all your visuals, the data model, the connections, and the actual imported data itself.
Whoa, the data too.
Yes, which is crucial to remember. If you share that .pbx file directly, maybe by email or putting it on a shared drive, you are sharing the underlying data it contains. So again, think about confidentiality.
Right, very important point if the data is sensitive. So saving gets you the file. How do you publish it online for wider, maybe more controlled access?
For that, you publish your report from Power BI Desktop up to the Power BI service, that online component we talked about earlier.
Okay, back to the service.
Exactly. In Desktop, you typically go to File Publish to Power BI. It'll ask you to sign in if you haven't already. And then you select a destination workspace, often starting with My Workspace.
My workspace, like your personal area online?
Correct. You choose that, hit Select, and Power BI uploads the report. The process usually takes just a few moments, depending on the size, and then you get a little success message, often with a link to view the report online.
Okay, simple enough. So once it's published, it's live on the Power BI service. How do people actually access it there, and how do you manage sharing and collaboration?
Good question. You'd log into the Power BI service, usually at app.powerbi.com, and in your workspace, you'll find your published reports listed under the Reports tab. From there, you can view your report just like it looked in Desktop. You can even interact with it, maybe make small edits if you have the permissions. The service has a surprising amount of editing capability now, almost like Desktop for many things.
Wow, okay.
And most importantly, there's the Share button. This allows you to share the report with specific colleagues within your organization, controlling whether they can just view it or also reshare or build new content for the dataset.
So you control the permission.
You do. And if we connect this back to the bigger picture, these publishing and sharing capabilities are really where your data insights move from being just your personal understanding to having real organizational impact. It's about democratizing access to informed decision-making, getting the right data to the right people.
Democratizing decision-making. I like that framing. What a journey we've taken from, potentially messy spreadsheets and scattered data to these stunning interactive dashboards. Power BI really does seem to offer a true shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about your data. We've seen how it connects diverse data sources, lets you clean and model data with incredible precision using things like applied steps, and then transforms it into compelling visualizations that tell a story. And that ability to filter, slice, interact, and then share these insights really makes it a powerful tool for, pretty much anyone looking to unlock the stories hidden in their data.
Absolutely. And this raises a final, maybe more important question to think about. In a world where tools like Power BI are making complex data analysis more accessible than ever before.
Right, lowering the barrier to entry.
Exactly. How might our collective ability to understand and leverage data insights fundamentally change the way we innovate and solve problems, regardless of our industry or our specific role?
That's a big thought.
Think about how this accessibility shifts the entire landscape of decision-making, when potentially everyone in an organization has the power to ask their own questions of the data and visualize the answers for themselves. What does that future look like?